What if the thing standing in your way was the very thing shaping your strength? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In a world where entrepreneurs, creators, and leaders are told to grind nonstop, to speak louder, and to constantly prove their worth, we forget the most ancient, powerful truth. Obstacles aren't setbacks. They are signals. This isn't just a mindset trick. It's a stoic shift that can define your entire business journey. Everything slows. Momentum fades. The calls stop. The doors don't open. And the people who once clapped, they fall silent. You're still doing the work, still showing up, still believing, but nothing moves. And in that stillness, doubt creeps in. You start to ask yourself, is it timing? Is it talent? Or worse, is it me? This is the part no one prepares you for, the in-between, the pause, the silent resistance, where your effort echoes in the void, where passion feels like a question mark, and where everything you thought you knew about progress unravels. See, in today's culture, we're taught to measure growth by attention, views, engagement, revenue, applause. But life doesn't always reward on schedule. Sometimes it delays on purpose, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to build something in you that's stronger than momentum, character, to teach you to lead without needing permission, to keep showing up even when no one's watching. Modern culture calls this a setback. The algorithm didn't favor you, the market turned cold, the support dried up, your voice got lost in the noise. But the Stoics? They called it something else entirely. Friction. Essential. Intentional. Transformative. Not a sign you're off course, but proof you're getting closer to it. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." We all understand this in the gym. We know pain isn't punishment, it's proof of growth. No one lifts a heavy weight and says, "I'm failing." They say, "This is what strength feels like being built." So why do we treat difficulty in life or business like a curse? Because most of us were raised to chase validation, not truth. And truth, it doesn't shout, it doesn't trend, it doesn't reward instantly. Truth watches. It watches who keeps building without applause, who refines without recognition, who stays grounded even when nothing feels certain. You may be in that season right now, where your work feels invisible, where your results feel delayed, where others are sprinting ahead and you're still walking with weight. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're forging something deeper. This is where Stoic leaders are born. In quiet, in challenge, in persistence, not performance. Where we stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this building in me?" That's not just a shift in mindset, that's a shift in strategy. Because once you understand that the obstacle isn't in the way, it is the way, you stop flinching, you stop apologizing, and you start owning every step of your journey, even the hard ones. Welcome to the Stoic Business Reframe, where obstacles become fuel and your quiet effort becomes undeniable power. So if you're in that quiet season, where everything feels slow, where you wonder if your effort still matters, remember this: you're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're not behind, you're being forged. In resistance, in silence, in solitude. This is the space where the world weeds out the loud and reveals the resilient. You don't need to go viral, you need to go deep. Deep into process, deep into presence, deep into becoming the version of you that can carry what you're building. Because when the world finally sees you, it won't be because you shouted. It'll be because your stillness spoke louder than noise ever could. This is the real path. This is the Stoic Reframe. And if you're walking it now, you're not alone. You're right on time. Welcome to the Business Vault, where we don't just talk about power, we become it. There was a season where I stopped chasing attention and started speaking with intention. Not louder, just clearer, more aligned, more honest. But something strange happened when I did that. The room got quieter. People didn't respond the same. The nods faded, the claps slowed down, some even disappeared. And if you've ever felt that, you know the silence stings more than the criticism. You start asking yourself, did I say too much? Have I changed too much? Or worse, have I become invisible? If you're still with me, you've probably felt that pause. That moment where your growth makes you unrecognizable, even to people who once believed in you. And that feels personal. But here's the truth. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're not losing people, you're losing what no longer fits your alignment. That's when I found a line from Marcus Aurelius that stopped me cold. The approval of 10,000 is not worth the applause of your own soul. Let that sink in. Because I realized I wasn't unsettled because they didn't understand me. I was unsettled because I still needed them to. And needing permission will always dilute your purpose. If this resonates with you, you know how tempting it is to shrink, to soften what's true just to stay relatable. But the Stoics didn't bend for applause. They didn't water down wisdom to go viral. They built in silence, with clarity, with integrity. They knew being misunderstood is the toll you pay on the road to authenticity. So I stopped translating, stopped explaining, and slowly, the silence became peace. The stillness became power. And here's what no one tells you. When you stop over-explaining yourself, you start commanding yourself. When you stop trying to be seen by everyone, you become magnetic to the right ones. That's the shift. Because once you're aligned with your truth, you no longer need to be understood. You just need to be consistent. So if you're in that season where your voice feels unheard, your vision unrecognized, your effort unseen, just know you're not behind. You're ahead of your time. And the right people, they won't need it explained. They'll feel it. They'll feel it. Because power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's quiet, sin still, unshaken. And if you're still watching, still listening, still here with me right now, it's not by accident. You're one of the few who's not just chasing noise, you're building substance. You don't need to rush. You don't need to shout. You just need to keep becoming. And when your time comes, you won't have to introduce yourself. Your work will speak. Your presence will lead. And they'll wonder where you came from. But you'll know you were never lost. You were just busy becoming. Marcus Aurelius didn't just rule Rome. He led through war, plague, political chaos, and still found clarity in stillness. He didn't run from the fire. He stood in it. He didn't wait for peace. He created it from the inside out. That's the mindset shift most entrepreneurs never make. Because here's what no one tells you about building. You're not just launching a product, you're launching yourself into uncertainty. You're not just selling an offer, you're selling belief in something no one sees but you. And when the algorithm ignores you, when clients disappear, when your product flops, most people panic. They switch niches, they lower prices, they chase trends, they mistake discomfort for the wrong direction. But not you, because you're learning to do what Marcus did. You reframe the chaos. You ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? What skill is this pain forcing me to build? What system just got exposed that I now need to fix? This is the real shift. It's not just mindset, it's strategy. Because obstacles, they don't block the path, they are the path. If no one buys, it's not rejection, it's feedback. If no one's responding, it's not silence, it's space to refine. And if the growth isn't showing, it doesn't mean it's not happening. Like roots under the surface, you grow long before you rise. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the Stoic builder's advantage. When the world chases hacks and shortcuts, you build capacity. When others obsess over instant traction, you master long-term traction. You stop asking, how do I go viral? And start asking, how do I build something that lasts? Because here's the truth. The ones who last aren't the loudest. They're the ones who can hold their frame under pressure. They don't beg for applause. They build systems that work in silence. So if you're still in that messy middle, that quiet friction, let it shape you. Because every moment you stay grounded, you separate yourself from those who quit at the first glitch. That's not delusion. That's strategy forged in difficulty. That's not just mindset, that's leadership. And that is how Stoics build when others fold. You see, the biggest breakthroughs in business don't happen when everything is working. They happen when nothing is. Because pressure doesn't just test your systems, it reveals your beliefs. It exposes the parts of your business that were built on noise instead of clarity, and it demands something deeper than tactics. It demands character. That's what Marcus understood. He didn't write meditations during peace. He wrote them in the middle of war. He was tired, surrounded by betrayal, leading an empire on the brink. But instead of crumbling, he asked, "What inner strength must I now develop?" Not, "How do I escape?" but, "How do I respond in a way that makes me stronger?" Now apply that to you. Maybe your launch tanked. Maybe no one signed up. Maybe you feel invisible. Good. You just found the friction. This is where your philosophy gets tested, where your systems grow teeth, where you learn to build without begging and lead without applause. So if you're still here, if any of this is hitting you deep, then this moment, it's not random, it's your forge. You're not just figuring out how to sell a product, you're becoming someone who can carry the weight of success without being crushed by it. And that's a business advantage most people will never have, because while they're chasing hacks, you're building roots. Now we're seeing something powerful emerge. A quiet wave, a different kind of leader, one who doesn't announce every move, they just make it. They're not chasing viral trends or algorithm approval. They're building infrastructure, depth, skill, systems, the kind of success that doesn't need applause to survive. These builders aren't the loudest in the room, but they are the most anchored, the most resilient, the most dangerous, because their confidence comes from within, not from metrics. They don't need to explain themselves to every doubter. They've already convinced the one person who matters, themselves. That's the Stoic confidence shift. You stop waiting to be discovered. You start acting like someone already chosen. You stop performing. You start producing. Consistently, quietly, powerfully, and over time, that quiet consistency becomes undeniable. Because presence, real presence, doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't beg for attention. It creates gravity. People begin to lean in. Not because you shouted, but because you stood still when others panicked. They see the steadiness, the calm execution, the rare discipline of someone who isn't reacting to the noise, but building through it. This is what building quietly really means. It's not hiding, it's not shrinking, it's leading from a deeper source, one that doesn't fluctuate with likes, shares, or sales. And when your foundation is that solid, you don't have to chase credibility, you become it. So if you're watching this and you're in that silent season, where the effort feels invisible, or your results haven't caught up to your vision, don't fold, don't explain, just build. Let the work compound, let your presence deepen, and let time reveal what silence built in you. But building quietly isn't easy. In a world addicted to visibility, it can feel like you're being left behind. You see others shouting, trending, scaling fast, and you're still refining the foundation no one sees. That's when the doubts come knocking. Am I doing enough? Should I be louder? Is quiet even working? But if you're still here, still building, still showing up without applause, that's your edge. Because when your confidence isn't borrowed from attention, it becomes bulletproof. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the essence of building quietly. You don't talk power, you become it. And when the spotlight eventually finds you, you won't be performing, you'll be ready. Because you weren't rehearsing for attention, you were training for impact. So if this season feels silent, if your growth is slow but your character is deepening, you're not falling behind, you're rising from the inside out. This isn't a detour, this is the foundation. If you've been waiting for a sign, for a moment where it finally clicks, where someone says, "Yes, this is hard, and yes, it still matters," this is it. This message, this entire path, is your permission slip, not to chase applause, but to choose mastery. Turn the pain into power, turn resistance into rhythm, turn silence into signal. The obstacle, it's not in the way, it is the way. If this resonated with you, don't just scroll, take aligned action. First, watch the next video. What happens when you stop explaining yourself? The Stoic confidence shift. If this one laid the foundation, that one lights the fire. Second, subscribe to the Business Vault, because we're not here for vanity metrics. We're here to build substance. Every week, I drop tools for Stoic business leadership, quiet power in the digital age, purpose, presence, and self-mastery. Third, share this with one builder who's on the edge of quitting. They don't need motivation. They need perspective. They need this. And if this stirred something in you, click that like button. Drop a comment below, even just one sentence, to let this message reach those it's meant for. Because this is more than content. It's a movement. You don't need to get louder. You need to go deeper, and the world will feel the difference. Welcome to the Business Vault, where we don't just talk about power, we become it.